My name is Brianna Richards, and I'm here with Dina, whose son Solomon is just graduating from the Brain Balance program here in St. George. Dina, can you tell us a little bit about Solomon and what struggles he was having before he started the program here?
Solomon has had struggles basically his whole life with Asperger's is what he was diagnosed with. I really don't know how, if he was born with it or if it was something that was kind of a developing thing. I do know that the very first babysitter that he ever had just said that she couldn't deal with him, that he just really set her teeth on edge kind of a thing, and I ended up moving, and after that it was just a series of struggles trying to find what he needed. He really didn't talk until age 4, and so he didn't hit those mile markers like he was supposed to, but he was not bad enough that like he went to the Washington preschool where they're supposed to be able to diagnose these things. Totally got passed over, so it really wasn't until he was in kindergarten for the second time that people started to be like, oh, okay, there's a problem here, what's going on, and that's when he got formally diagnosed, was in kindergarten, and informally diagnosed at around age 4 and 5.
So how did you guys hear about Brain Balance? What brought you to the program here?
Okay, it was funny. I was in Orange Peel Bubble Tea, and there was I always go while I'm waiting, I just go to check and see what's on the board around the corner, and there was a flyer for Brain Balance there, and I was very interested. I took a card, and but I never did anything about it until after, I think I saw it in like November of, before you opened. It was actually a few months before you actually opened, but by the time that I did get my butt over here, it actually had only been open for about a month. And so I had Solomon assessed and did everything that I could to get him in right away.
Yeah, how was he struggling in school, at home, by the time he was coming to the center?
He was still, in the very beginning, he had behavioral issues from the start. And by the time we entered Brain Balance, some of those things had been dealt with. He wasn't throwing chairs and desks and pencils anymore. But he was still having issues as far as taking off and hiding. In fact, one time they found him underneath the principal's desk, hiding just so that he didn't have to go to class. And he just, academically, it was just, he doesn't have an ADD problem, but it was really hard for him to concentrate and focus on things simply because he wasn't interested most of the time in what was being said or taught. His mind was always had other focuses.
Right.
So it's very hard, and he's in a new school now, but he really has not been on grade level ever since. But coming to Brain Balance has been excellent for him because he's able to shift from one thing to another much more easily. And, so even that, in regards to school, is a huge benefit.
Yeah, definitely. Well, when we assessed Solomon when he came in, like you said, we found that right hemisphere was weaker than the left hemisphere, and so which was causing change and shifting even more difficult because the left hemisphere likes sameness and the right hemisphere likes change. And so the assessment also showed the developmental stages like you talked about. He didn't go through things quite in a typical manner,
Right.
and so we found parts of the brain were underdeveloped, and so that's what we worked on to strengthen.
Well, not only that, but when we did the assessment, we were able to see that he not only had brain imbalances on the right side, but also on the left side. And so it contributes to, his learning disabilities, which, when he was tested at the school by the psychologist, I was told, yes, he's got learning disabilities, but they're not very helpful in saying why or what, or,
What do you do now to help?
It was very frustrating, and finding out about Brain Balance just put all of the pieces together, and it was just so helpful to get a picture of what was going on with my son.
Right. Well, and those eye muscles in him too were very weak, and so then reading and things like that, even though he's a
Very
bright kid, very smart in certain areas, if your eyes aren't working fully together, you have a hard time with reading, especially in other academics.
Mm-hmm.
So, wonderful. So, you mentioned how he can focus and change better in school. What other changes have you seen since the program?
He doesn't get upset the way that he used to. Before, if he were to have a misbehavior or do something that was not acceptable, receiving a consequence for that was devastating to him. He was very upset. It would ruin his whole day, and he would just shut down. And now, about a month in to Brain Balance, he didn't have those reactions anymore. About a month and a half, actually, I guess is what it was. And he got in trouble. One time he charged a bunch of money on my credit card. And when I talked to him about it, I told him, he had charged it for video games, not good.
Yeah.
And when I talked to him about it, I was like, you know what this means? And he's like, yeah, I'm going to get a consequence. And I was like, okay, so there's no more video games for the rest of the summer. He's like, yeah, okay. He's like, I really regret it, Mom. I'm so sorry I did that. He's like, I know it was wrong. Then he's like, hey, Mom, look. And he showed me his math paper that he had gotten 100% on. So not only was he not upset about losing his video games, which really is his whole world, or it was his whole world before all of this, he was able to switch and go to this other thing and say, look what I did. It's so great.
Yeah.
And he's explaining things more. He's much more verbal. Before I'd ask him, how was your day? Good. And then I would find out from the teachers or whoever that there was all of this stuff that went on, and I'm just like, holy cow.
Yeah.
There was not good stuff.
Yeah.
But having him start to tell me what his day was like and about various things and putting things together is huge. It's huge.
Definitely. We love working with Solomon. We love seeing the changes because he was one that we saw changes just by working with him day to day, and in his attitude and in his just even happiness level, I'd say.
Yes,
so
absolutely. I want to say too, one of the things that you did that was so helpful was the nutrition assessment. Even though he only had allergies to 2 things, and they were just very slight, and it was a dairy allergy, but taking out the various things, what I noticed was that his mood and his his behaviors and his negativities, I guess, would really come out when he had gluten. And so we've tried to eliminate that, but whenever he does have gluten, I just know that
it's a difference.
Oh, huge difference, and it's my fault for not staying on top of it more, but big difference.
Yeah, definitely. So that's wonderful. I guess just kind of in closing here, what would you say to other parents looking into the program?
Oh, I would highly recommend Brain Balance. In fact, I do highly recommend Brain Balance. Even if they just start out with reading the book so that they understand, what's going on with their kid. There was, honestly, reading disconnected kids, it was an amazing thing. But what I do know is that just doing a home program that they suggest in that, there's more, and the progress is faster when he was in the program and working and doing things here. So it's just, in the 3 months that he was here, he improved so much. He went from a 4 and a 5-year-old emotional and capability level, and in 3 months he averages out at 9.
Right.
Which is amazing, especially when you're as a parent. You're looking for those little things every day. So it's huge. Love Brain Balance.
Thank you, and thanks for being here and talking with me today. Yeah. If any of you would like more information on the program, you can visit our website at brainbalancestgeorge.com, or like our Facebook page, that's Brain Balance of St. George, or give us a call. Our number is 435-627-8500.